All right.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. I am trying to get some warm-up drawings going on.
Good morning.
Hey,
See if it works.
James. Hey, James.
Yes,
Can I steal your show for 5?
Are you in your studio?
maybe.
Can I steal the show for 5?
Well, go ahead and talk about what you want to talk about. Let's. I'll let you.
I would like to show everybody the studio, if I
Cool.
may. All right. I don't know. How do I reverse the camera angle?
That I can't help you because
All right.
I'm here and you are there. But might want to. Maybe there's a little camera icon. You could also.
I got it.
Cool.
You can't see the sign so well, but.
Awesome. So you're showing us the interior of
That's
the new
great.
space.
This is the waiting area, and that's where they check in. And then this is the hallway. We're gonna check out, so that's always fun. This consultation room is pretty big. We haven't decorated yet. This is an open studio area. Long hallway. Happy Mia. That way.
Big mirror
This
is always important.
flanges so you can see yourself, your
Nice.
angles. This is my apprentice Army's room. She's got some good stuff going on. She's far more amazing than I am, and that's no joke.
Well, it looks really cool in there. It's very clinical. Has a very
Yes, sir.
It looks like a clinic. So it'll be
Classroom.
exciting to see the tattoo aesthetic start to emerge out of all the.
And then
all
this
the
is the
spaces,
nurses
right?
area. And then
Yeah.
this is my tattoo area.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome.
I appreciate you letting me take the time to show you.
No, of course. It looks like a really cool tattoo, like a tattoo spot. So, but
Thanks.
also it looks like a doctor's office kind of. So that's okay.
We're doing therapeutic and medical tattoos too, so
Awesome.
it works out. We're building pamphlets and flyers to reach out to the medical community. We have a nurse on staff. I have one other artist, myself, and then we have another gentleman that he's really good, he's well known. He worked at D&J's here. I don't know if you've heard of it. But yeah, so good stuff. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
It looks
Didn't
awesome.
mean to hijack
I'm so
the
happy for you.
Yeah, that's so. I think that having a place where you can share your good news. I think that's really important, and it's been very cool to watch this develop. So again,
evolution.
Can't wait to see what comes up next. Now, like the hard work begins.
Facts.
Well, I'm just I'm real excited for this, and so congratulations. Anyway, thank
I
you.
couldn't have done it
for
without
joining
you.
us. We just got a chance to see Creature's new tattoo studio, and so if this is working for you, you can let us know in the chats. We always love hearing from everybody. I'm just getting warmed up.
Okay.
Some pitches going on. And if you are out there with us and you want to draw along, I like to start off with a couple of these ellipses. So making ellipses. I'm again thinking about like getting warmed up. I want my hands to get warmed up. I want to make that connection between my body and my mind, as it were. So I am not too concerned with how these look right now, just letting them be. Letting them be rough, getting the rough going on. Whoa!
Pardon me, sorry.
What? That's awesome. Like a
I live right on one of the busiest intersections in my entire county. And sometimes it gets a little wet.
no worries.
I miss living in the woods and the sticks where it's quiet.
Sometimes hearing those sounds of, like, I don't know, crickets begging for sex. It's sort of that can be equally kind of disconcerting.
Crickets, the bullfrogs in the spring.
Well, I'm feeling warmed up, everybody, and this is just as something that I like to draw with you, to sketch with you, and to also it looks kind of like a bear today, I think.
It does.
Not totally unintentional, unconscious lemur thing that I drew. I'm stretching out my.
I love the bear.
Thanks. No, thanks. All right. Yes. Stop sharing. Oh my God. Well, if my computer crashes and dies in the middle of our stream today, forgive me. All right, so I'm stretching out, right? I'm stretching out my wrists. Can't encourage you all enough, right? To just do a little stretch, right? Stretch and then both directions. This is going to help you have a long career. Seems funny, probably.
I've started stretching the whole body from head to toe every morning.
Excellent.
It's kind of become a necessity to be able to move after I get out of bed. I have to stretch everything, or it's not going to work.
Excellent. Well, once you get into the habit of doing it, I think you'll be able to go without it, like you say. So, welcome everybody, Drawing for Tattooers, episode 92. Can't believe it. It's just flown by, right? It's flying by.
When I saw 92, I was like, oh my God, we're at 92.
I'm it's approximation, I'm sure. I don't know if that's it's at least that many, but I don't but I don't know if that's exactly correct. I'm bad about it.
Guess what I saw on YouTube the other night? I was really late at night and I was really bored and I was going through a bunch of old reinventing stuff and I found the first episode of Drawing for Tattooers.
Well, I hope you hit the thumbs up.
It was a hoot.
You gotta hit those like buttons for us, because that's the shameless plug, but that's the way, that's the way that everything's.
It's the way the algorithm picks it up.
Yeah, no, I thank you for that, and thank you for being a part of it. Thank you all for being a part of it. If you're watching us today, know that we're part of Reinventing the Tattoos Extended Network, and so you can always learn more about Reinventing the Tattoo by reinventingthetattoo.com. And I have the fun here. I have a QR code. I'll try to share. Having a second. Computer's being extra. This is being extra today. All right.
Are you having a mind?
Right, yeah. So up. Should show it. Yeah, there it is. So up in the corner there's a QR code that's where you can learn more about Reinventing the Tattoo. So please,
I have a
please
question.
scan the QR code and go check out Reinventing. What's up, creature?
How do you do the QR code? I don't understand how they work.
Totally. No, that's a great question.
That's
So
a
you're gonna
game.
take you're gonna take your phone and you're gonna like activate the camera, and then you're gonna put it on the QR code and scan it. And so that code will take you directly to reinventingthetattoo.com, where again you can sign up for all different kinds of courses. There's the evolution course, which is just began. I don't think you can sign up for that right now, but certainly get updates on when that is available. So
Now, is that part of Gabe's whole thing?
well, that's Guy's thing. So that's Guy Atchison's
Okay.
Reinventing the Tattoo.
I was just wondering if that was the QR code. Is that part of what Gabe sets up for you with his system?
So Gabe definitely can set up those things.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, they're that's the thing. They're pretty handy. So learning how to make them, I think, is really it's a useful skill. So you can put them on your business cards. You can put them in your booth, and so I think people really got used to it, especially during the pandemic. Because like you go out to a restaurant or something during the pandemic, and you wouldn't have a menu. They'd be like, "All right, scan this and get the menu."
Mm-hmm. And a lot of restaurants stayed with that.
So, how do you scan the QR code if you only have your phone? So, like right now, I'm watching and interacting, and the QR code, I can see it, but I can't do anything to it or with it or interact with it.
No, that is a limitation. I don't know how else you would do it. Except
do you have a way to watch it back on a laptop or TV?
Right. Later on, you go back. You can put it on a screen, and then you can capture the QR code with your screen. So those are different ways that you can, that you can start to interact with them. But again, I think having them there, it's easy to get you there. But you can always, again, learn more. Visit reinventingthetattoo.com. We got chat going on here. What's going on in the chat? Cool. Yes. So Kyle Olson says, "How exciting!"
Hey, Kyle.
I think that's in reference to Creature's new Creature Cave. So,
thank you, Kyle.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, Kyle, great to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Spirit, everybody that's around. It's good to catch up with everybody. Well, I had something that I wanted to share. In the thumbnail, I referenced this Barg. The Barg, exploring the Barg. That's the thing that I claimed we're gonna go over today. And so I'd like to share that with you. Let's see if I can hide this. Get this. So many fun features on this streaming platform that we're using, Restream, but it does take a bit of engineering to get it all figured out. Anyway, please scan the QR code. You can go to Reinventing and find out more about the community. Let's get into our text because we have we're going to let's see. This. Stop sharing. And thanks for hanging in there during these technical difficulties, gang. We are almost set, and yes, this, and now I can share this with you. Yes. Okay. Awesome.
Yay.
Okay. Yeah. So hopefully you are seeing some text that came up. So this is from the book, and I'll share a QR code for it. This is for the Charles Barg drawing method. It's a huge book. It's an amazing book. I'm not gonna, you know what I mean. It's really an amazing book, and we'll certainly, I'll show that QR code later. It is a big book. If you can notice over here, it's like 200 pages. So I want to get into, a little bit of this text, so that way we can, do a little reading, do a little bit of, theorizing and stuff. But what I figured would be nice, I'm not gonna try to show the whole book. But what I figured would be nice is if just to give you a little taste of what is in this book. Again, it is like hundreds of pages of these drawings. So here's just some of these, like line drawings, if you like. They're very simplified, right? Simplified kind of approach. You can see. So in a reaction to sort of the training of art students in France, in the like 1800s, there was this system that got developed by Charles Barg, and so he's trying to bring us to this very simplified geometry, right, of the whole figure, right, trying to like include this, the figure as it is as an entirety. So you don't get lost in these details, as it were. You're thinking about like a whole, a whole relationship, as it were. So, yes. So, so we can see like there's a very simplified kind of line drawing here on the top, and then a more refined one, with a little bit of rendering. So hopefully that's starting to, to make sense. Here we go. Some ears, a plate of ears, if you like. Starting to become a little bit more intricate, if you will, more detailed. Something that I think is really interesting too is if we kind of zoom in and we look, like this is all rendered in crosshatching, right? Very carefully modeled, where the shadow shapes are. So you can see very simple set of lines that give you the overall basic shapes. And you can kind of accept it that, that there's not as much accuracy there. But this gives you this basic rough where you start to refine it. And then where do the shadows go? It's not a lot of, mid-tones everywhere. Where's the extreme shadows? Where are they located? I think that the other thing, to keep in mind here, it's not crazy, wild, shading all over the place, scratchy scribble. Not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but in this case, this is an approach we're exploring. And so you can see, like, when we get here, if we zoom in, it might be a little pixelated in my version here, but this isn't like blended together. You know what I mean? Like with a stump or like your finger or something like that, right? It's very carefully, it's modeled with like very, very carefully laid in hatch. So the hatch would be hatched on top of itself, and then you would start to get this gray. So
yeah, that would be like cross hatching, right?
Exactly. But I think that it's a part of our almost tendency to to not be patient and to to really want to like smudge it. Yeah, to smudge it around and stuff. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that that can't be done, but there also is this whole there's something valuable, I think, in like practicing these approaches. And so this all these drawings and stuff, the whole point of it is that you can, you're learning how to accurately depict objects and nature and whatever. It doesn't make you an artist. That's what the book, definitely, makes that much clear. It doesn't make you an artist to be able to do this, but working out your technical capacities and stuff can help you solidify what it is that you want to eventually start to produce as a work of art. So students would begin by looking at like a plaster cast. So they'd have like a foot that would be a sculpture, right? It'd be in a shadow box or something. You can see like, yeah, you can't start with all the details here of these nails, toenails and stuff. Don't start there. Instead, look to this is a very basic shape inside of a triangle, right? So you could accurately depict this triangle, right? That certainly has a 90-degree angle here within it, and then relating where it is in terms of inside versus outside, further modeling, and then finally you're getting to like a very highly rendered degree. Here's just a few more. Again, I wish I could show the whole book because there is, like I said, hundreds of pages of just beautiful rendering. It starts off slow, right? With some feet. Look at those. Look at it's just like, it's so graphic, right? It's, again, might be tough to appreciate at this point, but if you've ever drawn a foot before, you know what I'm talking about. Difficult.
So hard.
Yeah, it's very challenging to draw.
I love how dynamic the difference between the shadow part and the light part is. The lines are, differentiated. It's almost like a paint by number.
Well, it's so complicated in reality, in reality.
But it's rendered to look so simple.
Exactly. So we've got all of these, and I was thinking about it, there's a lot of conversations around this idea of, like AI. So if you want to beat AI at your, its own game, like here you go, like draw some hands like this, like work on some hands like this, right? AI can't quite keep up with it, at least not yet. But anyway,
AI still can't make anything without its database of images that it had to take from humans making them.
Yeah, sure. Well, again, we might not be so different, but at the same time, we really are trying to demystify it, I think. Like, when you get to something so rendered and polished, it can be like, how did you get there? And so, like this one, for example, it is like, this is pretty gorgeous.
It didn't look like it was chiseled.
Mm-hmm. Certainly,
like
I would imagine that this one would have been. Yeah, it's like, all right. So what is the point of this? We are interested in tattoos and stuff, right? Why are we looking at these old drawings? It's like, to me, it really seems evident, right? That if you want to do that black and gray that everybody really loves, approaching your subject in this way, this is simplified and highly graphic, right? And I think in a lot of ways it's fairly effective. And so this might be a really interesting way to approach learning, like the black and gray that you would like to do. And what's really nice too is like a lot of it has this strong calligraphic line, this strong edge, especially when we have
it lends itself to tattooing very well.
I think so. Maybe not these exact
problems is pushing my darks dark enough in my tattoos.
Right. And perhaps, like, if you are copying a copy of somebody else's copy of a copy, it's like things get lost in the translation. And you may return to nature, let's say, when you are designing stuff. You may be able to capture something that got lost in the, you know, in the stylization, as it were. Yeah, really love these examples here. Beautiful arms and stuff. Wanted to get in. I'm gonna scroll through. Wanted to get into a face before we read something. Yeah, arms and legs. It seems it's almost like you see this line drawing. It's so simple, and it's almost like, oh, hey, I could do that. Right? It is challenging, right?
Pictures like this that make people that can't draw think drawing is easy.
Right. No, I think that's certainly common, but also it takes years and years of practice to be able to, you know, nail this down. But having a little bit of insight, you know, can make that practice more effective. Hopefully, for the projects that you want to develop. You might find this like stuffy and outdated as well. So you know, I think there's certainly room for, you know, there's room for all sorts of criticism. All right, here's some faces. I'll get to one, and I think I can. Yeah, right. So again, we have this sort of negative on negative, as it were, and it's very still has a strong graphic kind of quality to it, right? This outline really defines the shape, but these really strong shadow shapes give it a lot of presence, as it were. You can clearly start to see that this, what we'll call an object, but it certainly has the shape of a head. Like, it has dimensionality, rather than just everything flat, flat, flat. It, you know, it really starts to turn, as it were. That's kind of the concept, that it turns in the light. So what I want to do, all right, what I want to do is, I forgot what page I was on, but let's see. Jump to this is pretty close to where I wanted to start. So just to kind of keep it, you know, casual today, there's a lot of really great information in the book as far as the history of this type of drawing and the history of the history of this type of drawing, and then of course, you know, just like an overall like approach to how you would go about it, including the materials. So right here, just to start with, and something that I think is pertinent, not to lose you, this idea of values and modeling. You know, we understand, we understand probably quite a bit of tonal value, especially if you are an artist with some experience, or you've been, you know, following us in any way. You know, we definitely have talked about this quite a few times. But let's get into the reading. Okay. In art theory and practice, the term value refers to the lightness or darkness of an area exposed to light. Some writers substitute tone for value. It can also be used to describe the absolute brightness of an object seen or imagined as being without shadow or reflection on its surface. This even value is sometimes called the local value of the object. For example, a gray object has a darker local value than a white one. In nature, values reveal the geometry of an object in relation to a light source. For instance, each side of a cube will have a different value because each has different spatial orientation to the light source, a different amount of received light, and to the viewer, a unique perspective. Similarly, the values will be affected by the kind of light hitting, whether it's direct, diffused, or reflected, and by the strength of the light source, whether it's a bright or a dim light source. These distinctions all present difficult problems for the artist. In drawing the transcription of relative values of an object, called modeling, there are three techniques for modeling: stumping, veiling, and hatching. Stumping is the rubbing of the drawing medium into the paper, usually with the pointed end of a paper tightly rolled into a stick called the stump. Due to the cleanliness and precision of the stump, it's preferable to the fingertip. Stumping produces a soft atmospheric effect. The second technique, veiling, involves drawing faint lines with a pencil or charcoal tip lightly over the paper's grain. This technique alters the value in a very subtle manner. The effect may appear much like translucent veils or glazes. Veiling is useful when modeling delicate forms in the light and where the curvature is gradual. Hatching, the third method, is the building up of dark value by means of thin parallel lines when each line is crossed over at angles. It is often called cross-hatching. This is essentially an engraver's technique. Some purists who want all the effects in a drawing to be the product of pure line in favor of hatching over stumping. Hatching can strengthen the modeling achieved by stumping and veiling. Moreover, hatching adds linear direction when drawn axially and helps to create the illusion of foreshortening when drawn transversely in perspective. Basically, those technical terms are telling us that the hatching, those lines that we were talking about that would go across the form, would start to add to the sense of its volume.
Mm.
It would help to make the face look more full, if you like, because the way that the lines are hatched. So kind of at least a considerate approach to it would yield some in effect, if you like. I think this is really applicable to a tattoo, for instance, right? Like if you're real, I know that it's easy to get into this sort of headspace, but if you're just working away, and you're not thinking about how the shape really could benefit from moving, from the direction of the marks that you're making. It's an opportunity that you could possibly, take advantage of. You could start to render, start the modeling, as we're talking about, of the tones in your work, and it could add another layer of interest. So
Yeah,
right.
when I started doing black and gray tattoos, I did, the gray wash scale with mags and liners for the edges.
Mm-hmm.
And I found, and it looked more like the paper stump effect.
Sure.
And I found that I understand black and gray tattooing much better using mostly liners or round shaders, and thinking of it in terms of cross hatching and stippling and the different textures you could use for in that kind of black and gray work. And I don't go to the grayscale inks as much because I build up my darks with cross hatching and more layers.
Absolutely. And then again, like if you have a cylinder or something and you're hatching the models, the form of it, like it's going around it.
Yeah, you're bending your lines to show the form and the volume of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the eye travel in that direction and trick your mind into thinking it's three-dimensional.
Now, it's a basic idea, what we're talking about. And it's easy maybe to do with a cylinder. It gets more complex when you're dealing with like a more organic form, a human like form. So it takes practice, but thinking about it, sort of starting to internalize it in some way can be a really good place to start, as it were. So all right, we're moving on, right? Procedure for modeling. Step 1, the same rule. Work from general to specific. This applies to modeling as well as line drawing. Begin with a large, dark, generalized shadow. Fill it in evenly while referring to the finished drawing. You may schematize the boundaries in your drawing, but remember that the edge of a shadow is seldom abrupt. Still, in the area is either light or in shadow, and the difference must be made clear. Once added, shadows give the illusion of sculptural relief. In the modeling of shadows, Barb downplayed reflected light, which in nature would flood the shadows of an actual white plaster cast. The simple shadows were most likely maintained using a controlled direct light and placing the cast in a shadow box. 3-side open box lined with black paper or cloth. This diminishes the reflected light. So again, just to kind of reiterate what's being said there, when we look at the, is there one up here? When we look at these casted drawings, right? These really strong sorts of shadows that are here, right? We might perceive when you're looking at it in real life, you might perceive much more of the reflected light, right? It might be, may not be quite so strong, but in this method, you're really playing up that really strong contrast, right?
Yeah.
And contrast isn't just about going darker. That's not what that means. Contrast is about difference. And Guy Aitchison goes into that into great detail in Reinventing, and I find it's really helpful because I think so often that's really the case. People kind of get it twisted, right? They're just thinking like, gotta go darker, gotta go darker. Well, you have to have something for that dark to resist, if you like, or to be, to be in tension with, right? There's a tension between the light and the dark. And so when you have an area that you want people to focus on, you give it this really strong tension of contrast of dark and light. And then of course you can make things become more subtle by adding a little bit more tone to it. And I think that it's so easy. I know that I have this tendency, like I'm focused on an area, and like as I look at it longer, I start to see all of these small tones. There's all these little details and stuff. And you go in there and you start to like render that out. And then before you know it, you've really reduced the contrast. And then it kind of like in a real way becomes way less interesting.
You forgot the biggest rule. Your lightest dark has to be darker than your darkest light. And I forget that shit all the time. And then I gotta go back in with the eraser and add the highlights and get rid of some of the nuances, because it looks great on paper, but it's not going to transfer to tattooing.
Yeah, it certainly is. Certainly tough when it's with a tattoo.
Yeah, a lot of those lightest nuanced shades are just going to fall out.
Yeah, so Kyle has a couple of questions. Like, is this something is this something that you would do in the direction of would you tattoo in the direction of the cross hatching? I think that this is something to consider. I really do. I think sort of moving your tattoo in the direction of the cross hatching can be a really good way to go. And then would this be something that we would need to consider when tattooing in general? Not so much just applying the tattoo, but when we stroke or color pack. Well, I think that like in reality, like in real terms, your color packing is still lots of marks. You know what I mean? Like it's the illusion of a solid area.
That's kind of how I do my color packing, because doing the old-fashioned way and just doing the circles over each other, it wasn't working for me. So I will fill the space in one direction and then go back over it in the other direction to create a crosshatch of color, and it spreads out a lot better.
Totally. And
especially once you've run over it once and really opened up the skin, the second pass in the other direction seems to go in better.
Right. So with experience, you're going to learn how to manage that, but also you may start to find that if you are packing in the color and it starts to have a general kind of movement, if you can get it like dead flat, I think that's an amazing ability, right? But I would imagine that like if you're very thorough, and you look at it from all different angles, you're probably going to notice there might be one, you know what I mean, where it's just a little bit, there's a little bit of difference. This could be totally contingent on, like the body part you're working on, the particular lights you're looking at it with. So a body is dimensional, right? So that might be a way that you think about it. I don't have an answer here, but I do think that, like, I don't know, considering it can be it can be a very important practice to, to internalize. Let's finish up what we were reading here. So step 2, after drawing the shadows, analyze the value of the halftones and place them in the drawing. Halftone is a variant of value between light and dark, say white and black. There are usually several halftones or graduated value in a drawing. In the early stages of the course, the finished drawings are separated into 3 values, one for the shadow, another for the halftone area, and the white of the paper for the lights. Both the main halftone area and the shadows are clearly indicated. However, the transition from the halftones to the light area requires care. Notice that the halftones can appear quite dark next to the lights and be mistaken for a shadow. On a scale of values from 1 to 9, where 9 is the value of the paper and 1 is the darkest mark that a pencil or charcoal can make, the halftones on a white cast are around 5 or 6. The average shadow is 4, which is a little darker than the value of the halftones. So this is exactly what we were just talking about, Amber, like that you need to have careful consideration of the contrast, the lightest and the darkest areas, and how do you sort of maintain that. And you certainly don't want to put, like, this too much like detail, too much emphasis in this light area. You might be able to get away with putting a little bit of render on it, and I think we see that, with really with like really excellent work. You can see organized crosshatching. Hold on, show Kyle's organized crosshatching compared to absolute chaos makes sense. Yeah, thank you, Kyle. I think that's
Exactly how
really
I thought about it, because I was going nuts. No matter how many times Jake showed me how to color pack, it was just coming out blotchy and not. I'm like, that's not how I instinctively feel like this should be done.
right. I think that's a really good point, and we're all going to have to, struggle with it a bit. There's only so much explanation that you can get until you really have to, like, test it.
Yeah,
And
you work with the medium and figure out what works best for your style of making marks and how you understand the project in general.
So here's step number 3. Right, the darkest major shadow has been filled in. The halftones are blended into the shadow and gradated towards the light area. This can be extended to complete the modeling by a recording of every value. And so there are some references, if you get this book, you can check out at this point. Those references, they're going to illustrate this gradual lightening of values from the shadow into the halftones and from the halftones into the light, as well as the delicate transitions within the light itself. Here too, the halftones and lighter values describe complex forms as along the border of the scapula, around the dimples, near the sacrum. Pay attention to the degree of lightness and darkness represented in the finished cast drawing. Each value relates to the other values, yet holds its place in the total effect. Notice the values of the halftone area to areas along the main shadows where the curvature of the form is more acute. There are a few halftones, a gentle curve that produces more. Despite the range of values used in the modeling of the torso, Barg presented a simplification of values and forms without confusing proliferation of detail. And such control is a hallmark of the classical style. And so I think what I'd like to do is sort of show. I think this might be close. This would be the yes. this would be the example of the difference of in this rendering approach, right? This approach to rendering. This is what's known as the Julian method. And we can see like all of this reflected light, especially in this sort of area under the chin, the canopy of the jaw here, right? You can see all this reflected light and stuff. You can see all this light here in the, here by the headband and the, and the hair and stuff. Again, same kind of thing, right? It's very, very detailed in these shadow areas, right under the chin, in the back of the hair. This was kind of the standard for the classical approach. This is the difference. Again, we'll come back to look at this guy, right? This is again the Julian method, and then the Barg method is, here's the difference, right? So subtle, but there's a strong emphasis on these really dark darks basically becoming almost lost, if you like. They're very, very dark, especially, we just compare these two approaches, Barg, right, versus this Julian one.
The Julian one looks like Vincent Price.
Totally. Totally. But I think the point is that, like, if you were in the studio and you're staring at this like plaster cast of, like this statue, right? You're just staring at it. You would probably see this cheek as, this would probably be a little closer to what you were, seeing. There'd be reflected light that would hit it. And that's, again, that there's a beauty to this. It is very challenging to sort of, to balance that. As compared to this, it is certainly simpler, but in a way, you may find it more effective because there's a really strong graphical quality that you're able to achieve, right? So, yeah, no, I feel like this is what we're kind of talking about. There's an interpretation that has to take place here, right? Especially, so for tattooers, you are tattooing, you're looking at a photograph, right? You're trying to, you're really giving it your best and trying to make it as sort of true to the photo as you can, right? It's easy to get all lost in this halftone, what we call it, right? That's what the author's calling it. That's what that's what it is, right? You're making all these really dark areas halftone, where if you just push it, right? Like Amber, like you were talking about earlier, you really push those dark values, you might very well find that it's just a bit more effective. And then to Kyle Olson's point, if you really start to think about the direction that you're sort of making all of these areas of solid dark, or even the way that you might hatch or start to push the value around to give us the volume.
Like sculpt.
Yeah. I think it is really, there is a real analogy to sculpting and stuff there too. And again, so there might be a little bit of stumping that's happened here, but then there are lines that are definitely going across. There's certainly a grain to this paper that they're using. All of those factors are at play. Skin has a grain too. It really does, so anybody that's been tattooing for a while will know, right, that there's definitely a, just look at the way your hairs grow out of the pores, right? There's a grain to the skin. And so as you are, Kyle has another question or another comment. Let's see it. And would this be something that you need to consider when tattooing in general, not so much applying the tattoo? Oh, that was wait. Here's did you do a new one? Yeah. That was again, really appreciate all the everybody in the chat. And I really appreciate everybody, checking out this method. And so I'm gonna share the QR code for this book. So if you are interested, it's a whole course that you can pick up yourself, and you might find that there's something that is really applicable to your tattooing, or your drawing more generally, right? Just now, this is just a method. I'm not trying to claim that this is like the answer or the way. You might find it useful. You really dedicate some time to it, and a part of it too. A whole part of it is like all those really rudimentary line drawings that you saw. Those are all made through what's called sight sizing. So the students would learn. They would use like a plumb line, so a weight on a string, and they would hold it up. So they would have a vertical line, and then they would do all sorts of measurements based on this. It was very painstaking. I think the point is, or that we can take away from it, is slowing down. Sure, we need to sketch quickly and do all kinds of different types of drawing. Maybe there's something that's really important and valuable about really slowing down and taking your time, whether that's through measurement, whether that's through careful consideration of like tonal values and whatnot. There's almost you have to kind of overcome yourself as you work. Like I can be pretty hyper often, and that can be difficult to get into the drawing sometimes. But with drawing, I think that's, for me personally, that's where I'm able to find the most focus. Drawing, reading, writing, these are the things that I can focus on. When I'm like, when I have to like make a spreadsheet or something like that, or do my taxes, it's like, I just, it's so easy to lose focus, right? There's probably all kinds of places where it's easy to lose your focus. With drawing, I'm able to get there to a point where I can focus, where I can actually lose myself in it.
Yeah, exactly. Or art and music and, reading and things like that, they're stimulating to me in a way that calms me down.
Yes.
Trying to focus doing the dishes is impossible. But I spend all day in the art world, and 9 a.m. turns into 9:30 at night, and I'm like, shit. I was supposed to do it today.
Well, thank you, Amber, so much for coming. It was cool to catch up with Creature and see what Creature's got going on. Beautiful space. Yeah, beautiful space. And again, I think we're all excited to see each other do well and succeed. And so, so I'm glad to see success happening. And again, I hope that you all out there enjoyed as well, and that you will continue to draw, to continue to sort of seek out this knowledge and information. That's we have this amazing opportunity, right, to access like this hidden knowledge. It was so closely guarded, it feels like, for so long, and now it's very available. All you have to do is get out there and dig in and really work on it. And I think that maybe that's the whole key to it, is that you really got, you know what I mean? Like, there isn't a secret that's going to like make you automatically be able to do the thing, but you can be interested in the stuff you're interested in, and you can work on it. And there's a whole arc of like understanding how bad you are at something, like the more that you learn about it, the more you really kind of understand that you'll never be able to hold the whole thing. You'll never be able to be the the perfect example of this.
Yeah. To do things right, you first have to do things you don't know how to do.
Yeah. No, I think that
Start
is
knowing how to do something.
yeah, it's a really good point. I want to we're going to close it out today, and I just want to thank you again, Amber. Where can we find you at?
You can find me on all social media platforms under Amber Morgan.
That's excellent. Thank you again for coming. We want to thank Tattoo Now.
Absolutely.
I've got a QR code. I get Tattoo Now. Tattoo Now is technology for tattooers. They've got mailing lists, CRM that is very competitive with with all the offerings out there. So you can learn more about Tattoo Now, and it's really going to help you out with your communicating to your clients. Kind of, in a way, can help get you your life back. So. Hey, good morning, Jason Lee here. So great to hear from you. Right, and well, there's so many more things coming up. I want to plug one more time. Change the QR code, or maybe it was the same. Learn more about Reinventing the Tattoo by visiting reinventingthetattoo.com. We'd like to thank Guy Atchison for being the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing the Tattoo and the Reinventing the Tattoo community. So thanks, Guy. Thanks, Gabe, for everything you do behind the scenes. I know that it's it's a labor of love. It's a labor of love. And so we really appreciate the space. And again, thank you for joining us out there. If you ever want to join us, you can find access on the homepage of Reinventing the Tattoo. There's always a link. It's freshly updated every week, and you can click and beam in if you'd like to ever be a part of these live streams. I'm James Wisdom. This has been Drawing for Tattooers. I want to wish everybody happy drawing, and we'll see you all next stream. All right, bye.
Great week.